Welcome to Frost Astrophotography. It is in the middle of September here, and I have been fortunate enough to have some partially clear skies, and that means I have been able to gather some data on an H2 region in the constellation of Cygnus called the Flying Dragon, or SH2-114. I'm going to prepare the data acquisition for SH2-114, the Flying Dragon, and I'm opening up N.I.N.A here. I'm going to connect all of my devices. This is something I normally do early in the evening, and I usually also take my flat frames before I acquisition my data, just to get that out of the way. And that is possible due to the fact that I have a flat panel mounted in my observatory, and I can control the lighting in there because it is absolutely dark when it is closed and it's darker outside. For now, I'm going to add a new target here to the sequencer. I'm using the simplified sequencer normally if I don't have to schedule any advanced tasks in N.I.N.A. I'm going to give this a name. I usually use the designations in the name here. You can type in whatever you want. I'm entering the coordinates, and I'm usually doing my framing in other services like Telescopius, for example, but you can do it in N.I.N.A also if you want. So you can see now that I've entered my coordinates for this. I can also type in a rotation. I usually don't rotate now, but I have a manual rotator on my telescope I can use if I want to. I'm going to leave that for now. You can see that I'm doing this fairly early. I can't start this right now because it's only 2:30 in the evening, and it doesn't get dark until later. It is in the middle of September. I'm going to make sure that I have my meridian flip on. I'm going to make sure that I turn on slew to target and center on target and start guiding. I will skip rotate for now. I also want to have autofocus on start and on filter change. Depending on what type of weather conditions I have, I can use the autofocus after temperature change or after HFR increase. That is optional. You don't have to do that. If you're taking images with a lot of different filters here or gathering data with different filters, it is less crucial that you enter any of these parameters since you do have a filter change autofocus. I am going to select light for my first filter and HA. I also use binning 2x2. I will dither and I will dither on every frame. I will also like to have 300 seconds of exposure time. Since this target is basically only HA data, there are some S2 data, but not really much O3. I have already gathered some data before, so this is only to show you how to configure the acquisition. If you want other frames, you just click on the plus here and you add if you want SHO, for example. After you have unparked your scope, my scope is currently parked right now in the observatory park position since my observatory roof is closed. I will unpark it here and then I can start this sequence. You can also let N.I.N.A, of course, park and unpark your mount, but I want to have full control over that process right now since I don't have any sensors to tell me exactly where the telescope is in my observatory, and I don't want the roof to hit my telescope, so to speak. Here we are in PixInsight. I will go through the processing steps of the flying dragon. So, this is an H2 region. It is very faint, maybe not that commonly imaged by astrophotographers. And in this image, since although I have SHO data here, I will make this an HA image, but I will use SHO stars for this image. So this data that I have acquired consists of 158 5-minute frames of HA, 14 frames of O3 and 12 frames of S2. Unfortunately, I didn't get more for S and O, but that was due to the weather, the moon and the northern light that I've been having the last few days and week, I would say. So that made it quite impossible to get some data. In total, I have 15.3 hours of data that I'm going to be using making this image. You can see in the S2 data here that you can see some faint nebulosity. In the O3 data, you can practically don't see anything whatsoever, apart from light pollution when you remove the stars. And in the HA data here, you can see that we have a lot of nebulosity here. In this image, as it is acquired now, the flying dragon is upside down, but that is depending on how you look at it. I will rotate it later on in my processing steps. The first phase of the processing is the linear processing. I normally do this the exact same way, although there could be some differences sometimes. The first thing I did was to make a dynamic crop of all 3 frames to get rid of some artifacts in the corners, but not much here since I acquired this data in close proximity. There were only within a week, I would say, I had all of the data that I needed. Then I did some dynamic background extraction, and I'll also use the gradient correction on this to normalize a little bit. You can see that you have a slight gradient here, maybe a little bit slipped in from the moon that was fairly big. I would say 85% moon or something like that when I acquired this HA data. Then I also ran through the blur exterminator and noise exterminator, and you can compare the two images here. On the left here is the original with only the dynamic crop and rotation performed, and on the right here you have everything that I just mentioned. We can zoom in here. You can see the difference here between the one with and without blur extermination and noise exterminator. You can see that the stars are a little bit sharper here. You can see the nebulosity is way sharper and prominent. I would say in this image a lot of noise has been removed from the image as well. All three frames were then moving into the non-linear phase of my processing of this image. Were stretched manually. I usually use the histogram transformation tool. After stretching, I used star exterminator, and then I extracted the stars from HA03 and S2. You can see that I have some halos here in the O3, for example. It's fairly bad. It's a little bit better here than in the original one, since this has been extracted with star exterminator, but still a very big halo, and that is due to the fact that I have my 7nm filters that are not so good. It looks way better in H-alpha here, I would say. I combined these three star images with pixel math, and then I did a star reduction on the combined image to make the stars a little bit smaller, and I also edited the colors of the stars here to make the blue more vibrant and the red or orange a little bit more vibrant as well. This is of course a personal preference. How many stars do you want in your image? Will it take over from the nebulosity or not? But I decided to reduce the stars a generous amount so that I will have focus on what is the nebulosity. I will save this reduced stars for later and use it to make an image when I have processed this. As you can see here, it is the HA data of the flying dragon. Well, at first glance you can see that the data is fairly good. It is a lot of frames, 158 5-minute frames of data here, but the conditions were not great, so we have some things here that might not be HA data, but some pollution or something interfering. I would say, looking at other images, the data that is visible here is in fact HA data. And now I normally combine HA03 and S2 to make an SHO image, and then I start to manipulate colors. In this case I'm not going to do that. I want to colorize this HA data with a red nuance of color, just to get it as close to reality as possible. So how do you do that? If you just take this image and apply red to it, first of all we have to convert it to an RGB image. I will do that now. Now it is a color image. If I would take curves transformation here, for example, choose red, a preview, and then apply red, then you see that, well, I will apply apply red to the entire image equally, and it's not looking that good, you know. Even if I reduce the other colors here to make it a stronger red, everything is red, and there's yeah, it's not good. It doesn't look good. What I chose to do is what I also did with other images, like the double cluster in Perseus, for example. I used the same technique. Others have made it as well, is to make a mask of the areas that I want to highlight. And one good process to make such a mask is ACDNR. And we can select a lightness mask here and a preview. And in this preview, we can adjust settings here to really make sure that it pops out. The black areas will be more emphasized with color when you color it, and the other areas will not. So here you will play with how much of this you want to be able to color red. This is the background. Do you want to remove something, or do you want everything to be slightly colored? How much do you want it? You will have to play with these settings. How dark do you want this to be? I think fairly dark there, I would say, and not too dark in this setting. It's a personal preference. Then you have the image that is supposed to be your mask. Now I forgot to make a copy of this, so I will make a copy now that it is my mask. Then I will simply just undo this, so I'll have my original image left. You should make a copy beforehand, but you hopefully have these images saved anyway. We'll check to see this is RGB now. What happens if I apply this mask to the image here? And now the red areas are protected. That is the case that I don't want. So I will have to invert the mask so the background areas are protected, and I only want to change the highlighted areas here. To be able to see what I do, I can decide to remove show mask here. If I now open up Curves Transformation, I will reset this tool, open up a preview and set this to red. I can adjust the red setting here. I can reduce the green, and I can reduce the blue. I can also choose to play with saturation and vibrance to get this to pop the way I want it to. Now, of course, this takes some time. This was just a very quick setting. I will apply that. And now you see that I can remove my mask. I have an HA image, and the result is very much better than the result of just coloring the entire image red here. If you further want to enhance this, you can use a script that I use a lot, that is selective color correction. It is included in a toolbox, and if you want to use that toolbox, you will have to use this repository at SkyPixels. I open up my toolbox, selective color correction. I will get a preview of my image. Here I can select different masks, like if I want to adjust the red here, I can increase red for the red to make it a little bit more red. I can increase the saturation if I want to, and I can also increase the contrast to be able to make it, yeah, a little bit more nicer, or have to have more contrast, just according to your needs. When I'm finished with that, I will click apply, then I might want to adjust with different kind of masks. Maybe I want to select the shadows, for example. I want to increase or decrease the saturation just on the shadow levels, or maybe I want to do that for the midtones or highlights, or for the entire luminance. For example, in this image I might want to increase saturation to make it even more red. Please consider you have to apply before each step or after each setting, sorry. Then you close it, and now you have the selected changes made. I of course have a lot of different steps in between this stage and reintroducing the stars. I use sharpening with multiscale linear transformation, and I use unsharp mask as well, and I also use TGV denoise in the final product to remove some of the noise in the nebulosity. I'm going to open up the first HA starless, and then I'm going to compare that to the image that is completely processed with what we just talked about. So on the left here is the first HA that was transferred with histogram transformation tool, and then I have applied all of the processes that we talked about earlier, and I've also made some color corrections with the script that we talked about to make it look something like this in the right window here. At this stage in the processing, I have finished the starless version of my image. I have applied all of the processing that I want to be done to it, and I will open up the processed stars that I did earlier. Now this is SHO stars that has been significantly reduced, and I can join these two with the pixel math process, and after a bit of adjusting with the levels here, because the pixel math addition, or when you join these two together, it adds a bit of brightness to the image, and you will have to reduce that brightness just a little bit. So this is the final product. I have 184 5-minute frames, 15.3 hours of data. I mostly used the HA data in this, combined the SH2114 Flying Dragon. This is very similar to what it would look like if you photograph this with a color camera. All of the hydrogen alpha data out there would be showing up as red on your screen. Now this is of course manipulated, and the stars are SHO combined, not RGB stars, but still I would say it's a fairly good result. I am fairly happy with this image, and maybe I will have a chance to revisit this image in the future to see what I can do. Maybe add some RGB stars, or see if I can have some clear nights without moon and northern light to add some sulfur 2 data to it, and maybe see if I can squeeze some oxygen 3 out of it. For now, enjoy this first image of my 24-25 season. It has started good. Hopefully it will continue this way, and I will be able to show you some nice images and some new and interesting processing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, if you like it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're not already doing so. If you like the work with these videos, there is an option listed in the description below that you can use to support this channel. Until the next video, I wish you have clear skies.